Yoshiko, thank you so much. Tomoko, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Dear friend from far and nearby. It's a tremendous pleasure to be here today and for the first time to an audience gathered around textiles to present the tapestry that just came from Mexico, which was a collaboration of 7 weavers from both sides of the border. You will see them very soon. It's unusual for a weaver to be doing this. We celebrate our cutting off, which means the day we are done with the tapestry and we proceed to release and see it for the first time, because in this technique, we weave from the back. So we don't follow exactly what we're doing to the last day. So here is a double celebration because we already did the cutting off. That happens in Mexico in our studio there. And now we are doing this, release, which is very moving. And thank you for offering us this possibility. The project was born out of 2 reasons. The first is our attempt to bear witness to the increasing suppression of human rights. The act of weaving a tapestry embodies the quality of positive construction, a minuscule statement against the tragic development so many people are suffering. The second, and especially dear to us, was to gather with friends and colleagues in the simple and beautiful act of sharing a loom. At this, late time in our life, it offered a cause to reunite. The project took place, you're moving too fast, Reed. No. Let me tell you when we move on, okay? We should be here. So the project took place in 3 places. In Berkeley, up the Sierra, near the town of Sonora above, closer to the Sonora Pass, and in El Tuito, Jalisco, Mexico. We have friends here from Vallarta, which is fantastic. The people that were involved, I will introduce them in the order they came from, the first one to the left, down. So Sally Williamson from Colorado, right? I was weaving with all of them. It's just, I didn't want to have my picture with all of them, it would be a little redundant. Then what Yoshiko just was talking about, our friends from Teotitlán del Valle, Maria Luisa and Jacobo Mendoza. Mary Lane from Washington State, sorry. Betty Hilton-Nash from North Carolina. Our own Yael Lurie from Oakland. She couldn't be here today, unfortunately. And Susan Maffei from New York. Those were the weavers who came and offered 2 weeks of their time to share this project. Now, because of the collective nature of the project, it was well recorded. So I will share with you some of the images focusing on the development of the idea, how it was born, and how were the different stages. But first, let me introduce the tools. Yael, can you bring the cartapacio? It's on the chair. I have 2 tools that I forgot by my seat outside. But anyway, this illustration is from the Encyclopedia Diderot and d'Alembert. If you remember, this was the first encyclopedia in Europe to gather information on the science and arts of the time. The second one there Well, you can see, this is exactly what we do today. Maybe what changes is the outfit.
But not to get it closer, because the people online are saying we can't hear you very well. So up closer to his house. Okay.
Thanks. Excuse me for a second. I was talking about the tools. Where are they? So the tools we use today, the little ones, the comb, everything is done by the inch. It's not, thing is going from selvage to selvage. You can see identical to the one in 1751. Then we have the thread, the bobbins, correct? This thread that I casually hold on my hand take 50,000 years ago. It's one of the probably earliest inventions of humankind. Tapestry is not that old though, probably around 5,000 years old. Traditionally, tapestry has at least three parents. The commissioning party, the wealthy, that is the wealthy parent, call it royalty or church. Down the social scale, the designer, and at the bottom, the weaver. The weaver was usually male, so was the lord, the pope, the designer, was illiterate, supposed to live on nothing, basing his remarkable technical and artistic knowledge, as the French call it, in savoir-faire, in know-how. No school, no books, of course, just the miracle of know-how. In the 37-page encyclopedia dedicated to tapestry, there is not a single word of how it was done. They show you the equipment. The rest is savoir-faire. In this tradition, it is unusual that designer and weaver will be good friends. Working together for 60 years, strange. And stranger yet that they are wife and husband. Regarding the commissioner, this time it was the circumstances. No money was exchanged. And the piece is meant to be donated eventually to an organization, I guess, that will be dealing with the immigration or border issues. Next. About the process, the idea and conception. Trying to express the significance of an idea and its possible impact, Jorge Mendez Blake, a Mexican conceptual artist and architect, gifted us with this marvelous visual metaphor. What we see is a solid wall of bricks at the foot of which there is a book. By the way, he calls this piece the castle because the book is Kafka's Castle. So that book affects the solidity of that massive wall. Just the compendium of idea can break a wall. So not all ideas are this. Some are actually bad ideas, but regardless, exploring them may lead to interesting experiences. Last summer, while we were turning a tool storage shed in the mountains with Yael for her use, our conversation was mostly about the challenging times we live in. a question kept coming to my mind. In what way can the art of tapestry bear witness to the current tragedy? Next, please. In the life of the senior artist, often a project starts with a hammer and a saw. We redid that, the two of us. It's not the first time we do a studio in our life, but this is the minimal one, the smallest one. From our earliest work together, that goes back to the 60s, we have always shared studio space. This was our first humble attempt to separate. To the right of Yael studio is my room. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because the fact that we were working on separate spaces turned out to be very important in this project. Next. Tapestry is pattern. The weave itself is pattern. To the question in what way can tapestry bear witness, we thought of exploring images encapsulated in analogies of pattern. Patterns in tapestries is defined as any regularly repeated arrangement, especially a design made from shapes and colors. Pattern in the social context. Patterns evident in the tools of creation. For example, the use of fences, walls, barbed wire, and other similar inventions used to divide and control people. The most common tapestry metaphor is that it is the sum of the parts. That tapestry is made up of lots of different intertwined parts. That in itself is a significant message. Next. An empty warp, like the one we see here on the left, is like a blank piece of paper. For the dimensions of the tapestry, we decided to use the full capacity of our room, which means since traditional tapestry is woven from side to side and not from bottom up, the width of the loom equals the height of the tapestry. The image of the left is the completed tapestry just before we cut it off. Of course, it's rolled around the beam. What we don't see, the rest of this piece is rolled around the ring. Next. Because of the logistic involved, 7 weavers coming to our winter studio, committing each one of them 2 weeks. For the piece to be completed in a reasonable time, the tapestry needed to be rectangular. We opted for the proportions of the golden means, as illustrated here. So you can see here how, a rectangle grows into this amazing sequence that is found in nature and used in architecture a lot. Next. Once we established a format, before having a narrative to follow, we discussed the general composition. Several years ago, I wove a series of small format pieces based on barbed wire designs. The one on top was my first one, woven and carved in Patagonia, dedicated to the ancient Mapuche culture, the people I grew up with. Fabulous craftsmen who one day, not that long before I was born, saw their country parcel up among the invaders to find themselves always in the wrong side of the barbed wire fence. Their land had evaporated. We felt that barbed wire should be an important feature in the composition, crossing the tapestry horizontally from side. A second motif we wanted to stress was the southern border wall. which has caused so much tragedy. The wall in its verticality was to be counterpart to balance the composition. Actually, most people going south fly over the wall, you know? We are not aware of what that wall really means in terms of human, restriction. We have crossed this border with Yael over 100 times since 1960, at least twice a year. So we have suffered, we have suffered the consequences, especially the one entering the US is always harder than the one going into Mexico. Next. We thought that the narrative should be oriented horizontally, like lines of text on a page, or bands of pattern common to indigenous textiles. These bands were not to have an actual beginning nor an end. What was to be represented, we felt, is immeasurable. The sample weaving on top is Navajo in late 1800s. The one at the center is pre-Columbian Peru, Paraca culture, and the bottom one is Zapotec, contemporary. Actually, is Maria Luisa. Next. We wanted to define some elements of the composition at a human scale. We thought of the mesmerizing cave of hands in Patagonia, believed to be around 9,000 years old. Hundreds of hands painted on the wall, a breathtaking testimonial of individual and collective social memory. Next. With these parameters, the dimensions, main symbolic motif, and general orientation of the composition, we started working individually on the design. The work of Yael, here on the left, the two pieces on the left, is, in my view, lyric, elegant, mostly abstract, but when figurative, is stylized and dynamic. On the right-hand side, usually weaving in small format, tends to be representative with emphasis in geometry. For the Wall of Tears design, the intention was to create a narrative where the tension of these two different views will express a common vision. Next. Discussing with Yael possible narratives under the working title Patterns of Oppression, I collected images from newspapers. Oops. Oh, sorry about that. Books, the internet, and personal photographs. I sketched several compositions, heavy narrative, but visually poor. Next. From these preliminary sketches, Yael rescued elements with pattern-like qualities, focusing on one element of design at a time. First was the barbed wire, looking for high scale and separation. Next. When we introduce the hands, the life side hands from our own family and grandchildren, friends, some friends, the narrative started forming. Next. As you can see here, this is one of the first completed bands with a particular motif of hands. At this stage, the first indication of the wall appears. Are those vertical lines you can see there in the composition? And something really is quite, I believe, kind of magic happened here. The width of I think they call it bollards. There are those, kind of big, ugly, uh, making the wall. In reality, here, they were the result of taking the golden means width of the tapestry, divided it in 6 different sections, allowing a little bit so see the reality of the wall resistance. Well, the little miracle is that these are 6.25 inch wide, and that is exactly what they are in reality. When I learned this, I thought, well, now probably we can hang it instead of having hang the tapestry. The next read. The first barrier encountered by people that they are forced to immigrate often is water. The water of ocean and rivers that turn into deadly traps. Yael, always interested in exploring textile-oriented patterns, worked on what was to be the bottom band of the tapestry. Next. Here we have the bottom half. On top, some additional sketches of barbed wire. When I did that was probably about 15 years ago, I was working on my series of barbed wire pieces. Our daughter Yadin gave me the catalog of the Barbed Wire Museum in Kansas with over 1,000 designs, all of them cruel and ugly. Now they can add a few more to the collection because these are made up by Yael. It is said to confess, but often these barbed wires, especially the ones from Yael, are fun to weave. Next. Partially submerged and entangling barbed wire are cloths decorated with diamonds, which are universal textile patterns, is a reference to what the immigrants are forced to leave behind. The pliable quality of the cloth is difficult to visualize without a model or representation. To the left was our first model. A second one was drawn on paper, cut in the middle, and fold at the base on a 90-degree angle to show the section that was going to be merged in the design. Next. Toward the end of the summer, we have been working on the design for about 8 months. The political situation was affecting us profoundly, especially the Israeli massacres in Gaza. We needed one more to complete the design. Only apocalyptic images came to mind. One evening, during our daily meetings, Yael surprised me with this vision. Toward the top, hands and barbed wire had become birds in flight, symbolizing the transcendent human spirit. Next. So the weavers, like muses, that inspire us, they come and go mysteriously, came and went, forming the tapestry with the intelligence of their hands. To conclude, I invited them to weave a star. We gave them more or less the location and the colors of their own vision and design. And there are here, all of them, there are like signatures in the sky, of their participation. I can tell you, in reality, I don't even know really which one was mine anymore. They all look, like little stars in the sky. Next. So here is the completed piece, and thank you so much for your attention.